Hi, welcome to this month's Humpday Hangout. I'm Brian Zeiss, president of the International Society of Fire Service Instructors. And this month, once again, we're going to be talking training with a couple of our guests. I'll give these guys a chance to introduce themselves. But before I get started, I want to give a big message about FDIC. Monday, October 6th, early registration starts for FDIC. So make sure you get in on that. Early registration for both the conference as well as housing. So if you're looking to have a full good time downtown and want to get one of those premium hotels that are downtown Indianapolis, make sure you get early in on this thing because it does fill up quick. And before you know it, you're signed up for classes and you're staying out at the airport, Ubering back and forth each day, and not seeing these two gentlemen hanging out at the bars and whatnot around town. So it's definitely part of the experience is the nightlife and the socializing that goes on at FDIC. So make sure you get in on that. Without any further ado, I got Chief Dave McGlynn and retired Chief Frank Ricci. And so I'll let these guys give a quick introduction of themselves. Sure, if you're anybody with fire engineering, you know both these gentlemen, but just a quick intro from these fellows. So Dave, what's up?
See, I was going to go age before beauty, make Frank introduce himself, but whatever.
I figured Dave would be too busy doing his PT test now. The Army's got to be in shape.
Oh, here we go.
It starts.
Is this?
You have to know. You have to know, right? Anyway, yeah. So thanks for having me. My name is Dave McGlynn. I am a professional fire chief for the federal government. I was a training officer for a long time. That's my passion. That's what we're going to talk about hopefully today. Right, fire engineering on the FDIC board. So I'm going to echo what Brian just said. And early registration opens up on the 6th. Get in there. Last year we had record numbers, and we hope to even break those numbers this upcoming year. FDIC is a great show, so hope to see you there. But yep, married to a Puerto Rican who's from Brooklyn, 2 beautiful kids, and life has been a challenge, but trudging along. So appreciate all the opportunities. I appreciate the time to be on the show today and talk shop with you, talk about training and setting the standard.
Absolutely. A non-political Frank Ricci, what do you got?
I was brought here under false pretense. I was told I was debating Ed Kelly. Welcome it any day, and yet he didn't show up. But I'm here. Frank Ricci, author of Command Presence. Brian and David both wrote for the book to make it a lot better. And I'm on the board of fire engineering, and it's an honor to be on your show, Brian.
This isn't my show. This is the ISFSI's show. So just clear that up right there. No, I want to talk about training today. Obviously, we talk about training a lot with the instructors and that sort of thing. And I kind of want to talk about, I know you guys want to talk about your new upcoming book about the standard and what that really means. But I think sometimes we look at training in the fire service and get your guys' take on this, and we see it as a skill set that has to be taught or honed. And I think in the world we're in today, good training can do much more than just make for a good proficient firefighter on a fire ground. Like, it can change the culture of an organization. It can influence the way people think and the mentality. And I just use us, like, where I'm at Kirkwood, an example, like, we're doing really good things with training, in my opinion. Obviously I'm a little biased with the training officer role, but we're doing good things with training, hosting training classes and getting people those technician certifications they want. And I think if you look at who's coming in the fire service today, they're looking for those opportunities. They're not, and there's some, I don't want to say not all, but there's some that are chasing dollars and benefits and that sort of thing. But I also think there's a pretty large group of these firefighters that are coming in today that are looking for the opportunities to be challenged. They're looking for the opportunities to actually do the job, even if it's just in training, right? Like having those certifications. We were joking the other day about our staffing models, and on our staffing sheets, there's these little, essentially letters, CSR or RT for rope tech. And, in the firefighters are joking how many letters they got, hey, I'm if we get this regional deployment, I can go out as a swift water tech. I can go out as a rope tech. I can go out as a hazmat tech. The once in a 10-year call, they don't want to miss it. Right. So I think having the training that's affording those opportunities and being part of those bigger pictures helps set that culture and set the tone of what the department's about. So any thoughts on that? You guys take on that? What are you seeing? Ricci, what do you got?
Well, I think you take training and you break it down into 2 components, the certification component that you were talking about. And remember, all those letters, college degrees, all that means that you got a foundation to do something great. The accomplishment isn't the letters. That's just what you're supposed to do to be a trained firefighter. But we look at training, and I was a small part of Dave's great book coming out, Setting the Standard. And one of the things that I really liked about the book is he really kind of broke down training into two things: the certification, the things that we need as that foundation, but then we also broke down the drilling component of it. And I think that we really need to focus hard on quality training and that drilling component. I mean, we have a lot of kids nowadays who haven't even cut the lawn, never mind started a saw. So you got to start with those building blocks, and you can't expect, you can get by with certifying somebody in Fire 1. I've seen departments do it. I don't recommend it, with somebody cutting pallets or cutting up on a roof prop. Okay. That may be okay for the initial, but before that class is over, you need to drill on that to make sure that they master those skills and get out to vacants, reach out to your fire marshal's office. Even in affluent communities, they're tearing down houses, they're renovating. You need to get them out and actually, so that they're cutting on a roof, so they're using the roof ladder. You need to build those skills. The first time they do something shouldn't be at 3:00 in the morning when it's on fire. And that's one of the things that I really focused in on New Haven is, hey, if my men and women are going to be asked to do this at 3:00 in the morning in the worst possible conditions, I want to make sure I can at least do everything in my power to duplicate it where they're drilling on it on a regular basis. And I'm not the big muscle memory guy, but I want to make sure that they're at least doing a quality drill on it, so everybody's getting their hands on things, so that you can kind of make sure that those certifications really mean something.
Yeah, before I go to Dave, I was going to tap on this. Two things. One, I think 100% on certifications, and I know from previewing your book, you're up on the standards for that certifications associate to.
That's because I relied completely on you, Brian, and said, "Look, fix everything that I wrote." So the key part of command presence is understanding your blind spots. So I immediately reached out to Brian to make me look good.
I appreciate that. I think the other part of that too, to the point of the training, and you hear that a lot. I hear that saw, right? And everybody's always like the saw. And Dave, Dave and I are similar ages, so I want your perspective on this too. Guys don't know how to start a saw. Guys don't know how to change a saw blade. I get the saw blade thing. I don't argue that. But I had a guy tell me one time, he's retired now, these kids nowadays don't know how to work a come along. And I'm like, okay.
But you got to teach them. It's your fault. If they don't know how to do it, it's your fault.
But that same 65-year-old firefighter that's getting ready to retire doesn't know how to use an iPad. And so I don't need to know how to use an iPad, right? Like, you technology kid, you figure that stuff out. But you better damn well know how to use this come along that we probably won't use in the next 15 years because there's antiquated technology. So I think it's a balance, right? Like, if we want these young new firefighters, right, to understand the saw, even though we're moving to battery operated things and less fuel based, petroleum based fuels things, then we, as the older guys, need to embrace technology. I had a guy the other day tell me about, a chief officer of another department. Hey, have you heard about this AI thing? Like, really? Like, you don't know about that? Like, so Dave, what's your take on some of that stuff? What Frank said, some of the silly stuff I just threw in there, but
No, it's there's a great number of questions there. I'm going to try to prioritize my response to some of them. So the one thing that I'm going to align myself with what Frank said in what he was covering was quality. So just back to what Frank was saying first was, he said about quality. This is something that I'm huge passionate on. I think any good training officer is passionate on quality over quantity. Oftentimes we get lost in checking the box mentality. We like to try to tick things off, to say we did something, to try to meet whatever requirement. That's why I always hated the word requirement, because you train just to that level and not beyond it. I think quality is the most important thing. When we were putting the book together, originally, it was going to be called the training manual. And as we were putting it together, and when it started coming together, and a few chapters that I had put together, and then the additions that Dave Polikoff put in there, and then Frank wrote chapter 4, and I started reading all 4 of them with all the additions that David put to all 4 of our chapters, and then the entire chapter that Frank had on the drill master piece. And I'm like, this isn't a training manual. We're talking about setting the standard here. We're talking about what it looks like to set a standard and then to train your folks to the standard is to exceed the standard. Right. And what happens oftentimes is that, like both of you were saying, there's no balance, right? So I'll change there's a saying about, as the fire goes. So I'll say, as the fire goes, so too should the training. Or as the fire grows, so too should the training. So what I mean by that is we're in an ever-evolving world. You just said about AI, right? The hot topic item for Fire Prevention Week this year is lithium-ion batteries. We have no end in sight on how we're actually supposed to combat those, nor do we have the funding stream to get the proper technology, training, and amenities and resources to mitigate it properly, right? But we're at least we're trying to take it serious. Sure, the come along is an important aspect. But like you said, the same token is with the iPad. The fire service is expected to tackle everything. I'm not trying to sound cliche. It's just a reality. It's an unfortunate reality because not all of us are masters of every single thing, right? Jacks of all trades, masters of none. That said, how do we try to create a level of preparation and a level of maintaining capabilities through training, through constant training, through training on the minute things, the stupid things, how to do reports, how to handle situations with people that are screaming, how to actually search hallways, how to advance hose lines, pump operations, apparatus positioning, everything from soup to nuts. We're expected to do all these things. So while we have old style traditions that worked for us, and that's great, we should continue to utilize those and implement those if there's a place for them. We still need to then train on the new stuff. And sometimes the new stuff is either not sexy or there's this fear of replacement. What do I mean when I say that? I mean the people. We got firefighters who there's a fear that they're being replaced by technology. I'm going to tell you that as long as I'm breathing air, we're never going to be replaced by technology. We are stupid if we don't try to adhere ourselves to the level and expectation that there is with technology so that we master it. But this is a dirty business. We use our hands, and we will always survive by being able to apply everything we learn through our hands. So we have to tailor training programs where we implement all facets between the traditional old style values to the newer upcoming things and maintaining that balance where it's relevant, but it's quality. Not just, lithium ion batteries are the hot ticket item. Let's watch a YouTube video on it. Well, what does that do, right? You just checked in a box. Why don't we actually try to figure this stuff out? So I think that where we're going within the book, and there's a lot more we'll touch on this, is just simply that is that quality aspect of it, that standard piece of it. Training is not to be taken lightly. It should not be something that we just do. It should be something that we're about. I say all the time, athletes don't win championships by just showing up on the day of the championship. They practice the entire year so that they could master what they're going to execute during the championship. It's the same thing with us. Every day there's that potential that we're going to be in the Super Bowl if there's a working fire or a massive, hazmat incident or something. We have to be able to apply our people, deploy our people like they've done this before.
No, I like it. There's a lot there, a lot to break down there. I think too, so you say that from nuts and bolts all the way to, to the big full scale training, which, I totally get that. I think too, for us to be successful as instructors and training officers, we have to throw those morale wins through training. Right. So like, I use example, right? Like, so my crews the other day were doing rappelling, right? Rappelling is something that we probably won't do as a department in a true rescue, right? Very rarely would we rappel. We'd probably lower someone down, lower equipment. And that's just our standard procedure with the twin tension system. That said, it did get everyone familiar with the uses of the equipment. It did get everybody in a harness. It did get everybody on a rope, right? So it did check the boxes, which I know is not one, but it was a giant morale win for the people that did it because it was something we don't normally do. And so my initial thought when I saw it, right? Because it happened on a Saturday, crews were training. So it's that training officer balance. Like, man, I'm really cool at training, but they're training on something that we're probably not going to do as a skill set. However, I have to also balance out the fact of like, that's a morale win, right? Like that's something that other departments in this area can't do because they don't have that equipment. So everybody's cheered up, everybody feels good about it. So you run with that as a win as a training officer, not coming in the next day and be like, hey, that's not what we do. And I think, kind of like, we always talked about like evaluations, that sandwich model of, well, I'm going to tell you what you did bad. I'm going to tell you something you did good, then something you can improve on. I think from training, we got to build our training so that we don't have those lull periods where they're not hands-on, to your point, doing something. They're being challenged because people naturally want to be challenged in their jobs, their aspects. I always go back to that, whether you're a career volunteer or whatever, any class I teach, I talk to people and I say, why do people come to work? And it's to provide value, right? It's to provide value to themselves, to their team, their coworkers, and the community. That's why firefighters exist. And so if we can't do that through a call, we have to do it through training. And so, to your guys' points, like setting the standard, which is, we'll talk more about your guys' book. But that's what it's about, right? It's setting that standard. It's creating that value-based opportunities so that people want to be part of the fire service, want to be part of that organization, and want to succeed. And they see their success through training as organizational success. Frank, any thoughts on that?
No, I see value in doing your rappelling drill because they're still evaluating anchors. They're getting on rope. They're building confidence with their rope. Depending on how you're belaying them, they're getting practice with the belaying and the command. So there is a bunch of transferable skills from that. It'd be great if they added in a lowering operation and then did that once and then did all the rappelling. But I think that's fine. There's value in just giving that kind of drill. So I fully endorse that. You got to make training fun. And too many departments in this country, training is viewed, if it's not a certification program, which is viewed positively, when it comes to drilling and training, it's too much geared on the punitive nature instead of let's do one evolution, let's do it great, let's tackle an obstacle, let's give a real critique, and then document it, and then move on to the next thing. That's really how you create buy-in and not that punitive level. So I think it's great that they were telling. The fact is they're getting out their equipment, they're getting more familiar with it, and there's plenty of transferable skills that are important there. But then again, I'm a big believer in scale and ladders. New Haven, we did scale and ladders in the training academy, and I thought it was phenomenal for confidence, and it did transfer over to your ladder work.
Yeah.
I agree with Frank, and I agree with where you were going with that. In the book, that's some of the stuff that we cover. We're wrapping things up, so we're almost done. And as it's coming together, we're talking about all that. So we're not just teaching you, like, none of the book is to teach you how to run a drill. We're touching on the importance and the value of that. But we talk about that humanistic thing. My experience as a training officer, and it could be different from other people, but I'm just saying, I noticed that you're more in the people business when you're the training guy than you are when you're the ops guy, when you're the fire chief. I don't know why. People are just more open to wanting to discuss things with you, right, wrong, or indifferent. And there's the heavy weighs the crown in that responsibility that you have to your people. And with that, you're responsible for the development. So we're talking about, like, Frank, I love that you said about non-punitive, right? So we live in a society in the fire service where, like, training has been used as punishment. Training is for development, not for punishment. Okay. The reason why we've had resistive firefighters is because of a couple things we're discussing here. Either we checked in the box mentality. Hey, this is on the training calendar. We have to go out and do it. Right. Or this new shiny widget came out, so make sure everybody signs a training report so we can say we did it, pack it up and stow it away, and then forget about it. Or it's for punitive reasons, and because you pissed off the captain, so now everybody here has to sit there and throw ladders or do bailouts or whatever, and we're setting people up for failure. What's the learning environment like? When we initiate the learning environment as if we're yelling at everybody and that this is going to be an immeasurable, unachievable task, right? we're automatically turned off. All right. Our receptors to learning and retaining this are just, they're blocked. We're in defense mode. And because everybody's in survival mode in today's day and age, you don't want to be insubordinate. So now you're in survival mode that you are just basically docile. You're just taking it. You're just sitting there and you're numb to it and you just want to get through it. You go through the motions and then you're done. Or the shithouse lawyers, you know, the union guys, they'll like to sit in the corner and they'll sit there and be like, this is BS. We should file agreements on this. But the point is, we've established a toxic environment on the training grounds or in the classroom because we use this for punitive reasons, right? So to what you were saying before, Brian, to your point, there needs to be some level of celebratory success here. Training, especially in a drill where we haven't done it, it's not something that we typically do. Should we still train on tech rescue? By all means. 911 gets called. They don't know whether or not your skill set's there on what you can do, whether or not your people are CSR techs or not. They don't know that, okay? They just expect you to come and do what you're supposed to do, okay? So you have to train on it. You have to determine as a training officer what your frequency level is on that per your mission, but nonetheless, you still got to train on it. But if it's not something that you regularly do, it's not something that we answer a call for all the time, we invest 100% effort into that training, and then there's a success. The guys are happy, like you said. You know, like we when we do the hot wash or the after action, we're bullshitting, we're joking around, we're laughing, we're having a good time, we're picking out what we learned, and it becomes celebratory. There's that camaraderie piece. The guys are happy. You know, it's just, I think we failed in the past in like training was used to drill people, and we use that word drill for the military sense that we drilled people beyond them learning, and we just broke them down. That's what the fire academy is for, is to break people down like boot camp. Once you're on the job, this is for repetition and development of new skills and the ability to stay consistent in your capabilities. So training has to have some level of celebratory success, whether the TO, the captain, the officer, whoever's running the drill gives kudos, gives the high fives, gives the, you know, attaboy to their people. You know, somebody stands up the drill that's on the floor and the drill ends up going awesome because they had these great ideas, right? That needs to be exposed, not overexposed where it's ingenuine, but just genuine enough where people look forward to going to training. When training becomes a chore, or when
all right, stop. No one's ever going to look forward to going to training. Okay?
Yes, they are.
It's not a goal.
Yes, they are.
Because
I loved going to training. You're wrong.
The goal is that after they come to training, they say, wow, that was awesome. I picked up something from it. That's achievable across the board.
Sure.
You're always going to have your hard chargers. Training has to be firm, friendly, and fun. We don't want to just give everybody a certificate because they showed up. We want to make sure.
You still want to look forward to going to training. Don't listen to what he has to say.
Most people don't.
Don't you guys agree though too? Like, we've all been to those trainings, and if you want training to count, you want to drill, you want guys to leave there, like you said, you know, whether they're having a celebration with champagne like you guys have at Letterkenny, or they're just having high five like we do in normal fire departments. You got to have clear objectives. Yeah. And I mean, how many times have we gone to a training where you've done something in the fire service where someone's led a class and you're like, man, that was decent discussion, but I don't even know what the point of it was. Like, what, you know, we learned some stuff, I guess.
That happens all the time.
It does all the time, but that's like, I feel like as a training officer and instructor, all you did was set out you laid the table, right? Like, you set the table for dinner, but you didn't bring anything to the table for anyone to eat. And so everybody sat at the table and they're like, yeah, it was a really nice table. Yeah. And we had a good time, I guess, but I'm still leaving hungry.
Right.
You know, because we didn't have those tangible objectives that are necessary for a good training to occur.
You got to make sure you have the right objectives, and then the person delivering the training has to know what the hell they're talking about.
Yes.
So again, that just ties back to what we're saying. Like, you can lose everybody's ability to want to learn if you got a bogus, fraud, fugazi guy that's running the training because they don't know what they're talking about, or they just looked at a video on it or read a quick article, and that's fine. But right, you have to make sure the right person is delivering the training. You have to make sure that the right objectives are set forth, and you have to make sure that things aren't half-assed, that they're done with a purpose. But like I said, though, I still stick to this. Like you can, and you said this when we first started the show, you can change the entire culture of your organization if your training is relevant, purposeful, and fun. Yeah. If training is viewed as a punitive thing, like you said, Frank, your whole culture of your organization sucks.
Yeah.
Well, the best way to put forth your vision as an officer is through training. I mean, it's really where you can lead by example.
Right.
While I agree that you always want training a lot of times where you have that success, you also got to realize that you can fail on the training ground without being a failure. It's okay, especially if it's designed. It's okay to have a failure if everybody learns from it. And sometimes that good ribbing actually helps motivate. So you don't want ribbing that's harmful, but you can have that in that, fire department sense where it's okay to fail on the fire, on the training ground. I want you to fail on the training ground. I don't want you failing on the fire ground. And if you're failing on the fire ground, I used to, throw a grenade when I was an adjunct instructor, when I would hear the upper echelons of the training division say, I can't believe they did this on the fire ground. And I'd say, yeah, you guys really failed. And I'd walk out of the room. So it's a reflection on the training academy if people are doing messed up stuff in the field. So it's okay for that failure.
Yeah. I like too, Dave, your point about the training officer role. Being a training officer for a while now, it's like, I do see that. Like, I feel like people think we can open doors for them. We can open those lines of communication. We're very approachable. We're the person or in organizations, large organizations, that cadre that is actually doing the job with the line staff that understands it probably the best of all the, I guess you might say, administrative personnel that are working in that. So it's a very relatable position. And you have trust with that, and trust builds teams. So, they trust you to, hey, listen, the training you're going to provide is going to help me, achieve my goals of being able to be this, tech rescue person, this proficient hose person, this proficient on ladders, this person that can save someone's life. And I expect you to come with the skill sets to make me better. And it's that value thing we talked about earlier. And so I think sometimes people just kind of brush that to the side as a training officer. They don't see that. They don't understand the huge weight that's on your shoulders when you're delivering training. I always tell people, like, there's something you can't get more of. It's time. You get so many ticks, my ticks could be up in today. Hopefully not. But when someone gives you their time, that's the most important thing they can give you. They can't get more of it. So you as the instructor,
the training officer in time has the ability also to help that company officer facilitate that good drill by getting the vacant or getting a confined space for the company to do, because you have time to set it up where the company officer isn't going to do that. And another thing that Dave said, where he was like, hey, the training officer, you got to know this, you got to know that. There's nobody that knows everything that doesn't have blind spots. A perfect example, you would never want Frank Ricci to teach you a class on pump operations. I mean, that would be the height of absurdity. So it's okay not to know something very well, as long as you know what you don't know, and you could take that as an opportunity to facilitate. You don't always got to be training as a training officer, but if you can't be the one training, at least you can facilitate and mentor a younger member or an older or senior member where they could really shine and put forth that drill or that training.
Now, I have to echo what Frank said. That's one of the things, and forgive me if I wasn't clear enough. You already know that, Frank, because we've talked about that. We just did a book together. Like, I very much align myself with that too. Like, that's another thing. Misconception is, like, as a training officer, you're the lead facilitator. You set the stage for people to do it, but you should not be teaching everything either. And that's where, back to what the question you said before, Brian, about, you could have somebody still hungry at the end of the training drill because the guy that was teaching it he didn't hit the mark, right? And there's a lot of times where there's TOs who think that they're supposed to teach everything, and either the drill was terrible because the guy never performed the skill when they were on the floor or riding the back step, or the guy that was teaching it themselves just wasn't skilled or knowledgeable in it, and it just fails. So, like, that's the other thing is, same as we design a training academy, you're a TO. If you're in your organization, just speaking locally for your fire department, right? Whether it's a big city or just, a couple companies, you have to know your cadre. Your job is like, you're the administrator of the training division. So you assign the cadre, and then you allow the company officers to then go forth and do great things on their own too. Like, they know better than you do whether or not their guys screwed up on a call last night. So they're going to take the rig out and drill on them with it. That doesn't need to be on a training calendar. Let them do it, but just know what you're talking about. And like I said, again, though, is just make sure the training has a purpose, but that it's not used like Frank said earlier, like punitive. Like, yeah, the best place to fail is in training. That's where we break each other's balls and have fun with it. But everybody walks away just feeling good. Like the day went by, we accomplished something, we did something. When guys go out there and it's like, look at this idiot, he doesn't even know how to train a ladder. And it's not because we're breaking balls, but it's because some guy's a jackwagon who's in charge of the drill, right? Nobody learned anything. It's just, and that's where we fail.
One thing on quality training, Brian, that I see a lot of departments fail on is they'll call mutual aid if they have a major fire, but then they don't train with them. But then there's another component of this is that sometimes if you're in a one-station firehouse where you can't, and your ambulance crew is going out every 5 minutes, they're not getting quality training. Can you work out a mutual aid agreement with your neighboring department that quarterly you're going to cover each other firehouses so that when you do your annual live burn training or you're doing a significant certification program or something like that, that the companies aren't responding to calls left and right? Some departments with 2 different firehouses, dedicate one company that's going to respond to calls that day during the training thing. Make sure they're positioned in a path of travel out of the drill area if you're only down to 2, and then the next one switch it to the next company so you don't have all these companies leaving. So you got to use a little bit of thought process when you're facilitating that training.
No, I completely agree. I think I think too is like you guys said that the training officer is kind of like that hub, right? Kind of like, hey, coordinates and make sure. But I think too that company officer, which I'm a huge company officer guy. Like, I just think that they're the spokes of the wheel that make us go around as a fire service. Probably, in my opinion, most critical role in the fire service. And so I think having a company officer that can execute high level training with the assistance of the training officer, training division, whatever. But I think, like you said, taking the handcuffs off of them to follow a mold, and them knowing their crew and their company and what's going to be successful to lead that training, setting up, like you said, that acquired structure. Hey, I want you to show up at 2:00. We're going to do an acquired structure drill. All you know is you're going to a structure fire. And as a training officer, we got smoked up. They can do the 360. They can do their things. They can work with their crew. They know what they're looking for. Hey, I know that my backstep Dave McGlynn struggles to pull the line. I know that Frank Ricci has struggles with mask up stuff. So I'm going to be looking for that in this drill. And then when I go back to the station, tomorrow, if I'm 48 or whatever, hey, Dave, let's go pull that line. And Frank, hey, remember yesterday we had that drill. Those are the little things the company officer is going to do to hone, a good company officer should say, is going to do to hone their company because they know. Now, we could still do masking and those sort of drills, but I think that needs analysis, that needs based that the company officer can perform. And that company officer, I got a guy on the board of ISFSI, an incredible instructor, Brad French, who talks about this extensively about the company officer's instructor. And it to that point, I mean, like, there's no better training that's occurring in the fire service than at the company level.
I'll pass this to Dave after this, but one thing with that company officer, one, it should be based off merit, and really shame on the volunteer association, which I'm a big supporter of, and the IFF, who hasn't really doubled down that we want our officers to be based off merit. I mean, both organizations should come together and say we want our officers to be qualified to safely, efficiently, and effectively mitigate anything they're called to. And look at your department. Is there a plan? Is there some merit-based structure to how you do acting officers? Is there some merit-based structures of how you do your promotion? What's the training officer's role in ensuring that the material is relevant to the job? And then also, as company officers, taking advantage of any call that you go on. We see a lot of company officers across the country. They go to a fire, they have a new shift, they'll do the critique, the tailboard. Everybody seems to be getting good with that, but then they just pick up and go. Stop. If you go to a fire, no matter if you go to one fire or 30 fires or 100 fires a year, stop. while all the lines are deployed and the ladders are up. It doesn't always have to be you. It can be also a way to build your senior personnel. But make sure your firefighters walk through the building after that critique where they can see where all the lines are, where they can go up on the roof and talk to the men and women that cut that hole, where they can gain. It only takes 5-10 minutes. It respects the fire marshal cause and origin thing, you know, but you can walk your personnel through. And I don't care if they got 1 month on the job after the academy or 10 years, walk through and see everything that's there when it's still there. It's going to make everybody a better firefighter, and it gives you a globalized view, and you'll pick up some things that you'll be like, oh, okay, hey, I need to do that next time. And you'll be a better officer, and your firefighters will be better firefighters. Dave?
No, I 100% agree with that. I'm going to share just a quick story. So one of the things when I was up at West Point, we were fortunate that some of the housing units would be vacant in transition of either students or, they would get a new assignment and they'd be between someone else transitioning in, right? And I got with the housing people and we would smoke out these buildings because contractually between the new residents coming in, they have to paint everything and clean everything up anyway. So we had like this 2-week window of opportunity where we couldn't bust the house up, but we could scuff the house up. Makes sense. So I would smoke the hell out of these things and I would, have dummies in there and everything like that. We would do drills. The guys would go in, they would do their thing. I would do it in different areas that were different first dues because we had multiple first due areas. We had a few different stations. And after we were done, after they would clear out the smoke, I would make every one of them then walk through the entire residence after we were done. And they would be like, wow, dude, like I've worked here this long and I've never been in one of these before. Or wow, what a different site than what I thought it was when I was searching through here while it was all smoked out. And I learned that trial through fire. One of the first fires that I had growing up in Jersey, we, old school mentality, left-handed search, all this. So I'm just fresh out of the academy. I go and do that. I break away from my partner and I ended up crawling under a dining room table and I freaked out because when I went to pop up, I hit my cylinder and my back of my helmet on the dining room table because I was under it. And then I'm hitting into the chairs and everything. I'm freaking out. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? You know what I mean? When we've put the fire out, we clear everything out. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, it was a goddamn dining room table that I was stuck under. But, when your imagination takes over and you can't see shit, you don't know what the hell you're bouncing into. So it is really nice to have the guys, A, get an idea of their first due if you get that opportunity to show it to them, but B, show them how their imagination takes over when they're searching through smoke and how we can try to help. Hey, this is actually what it looked like. So we can try to discipline them to calm themselves down and not let their imagination trick them into thinking it's something that it's not. Does that make sense what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I think too, to your point of like the acquired structures and things like that, like, this, dormitory type thing, I'm all for 1403 live fire training. We all have to do it. I get it. But these are the opportunities where we can do like the theatrical smoke those buildings up. We don't have to do all the walkthroughs. We don't have to, we still got to have safety measures in place, but it's more real, right? Like, and I've argued with people this to blue in the face. I'm like, yeah, 1403 is a great skill set training and it's some great fire behavior you can see sometimes in those rooms. But if you really want to see, to your point, how someone's going to react under stressful situations, highly unlikely it's going to be in a burn room because you've done a walkthrough. They've seen where the fire is going to be. We can't make it realistic where it's going to show up, 90% of the fires we show up post flashover.
Right.
They're coming in on the incipient phase of a fire or growth, whatever you want to call it. So, so for us, those, when we get those acquired structures and we can do those sort of trainings with them, and we can put them in a real environment to where, hey, listen, stretch the line, take your, whatever you're going to do, and put real furniture in there, right? We did a training, even at our training tower with our neighboring department, put a wall in that was not there before, just smoked it up with search training. And it was amazing how many people, how many times you've been in your own training tower, didn't know where they were at because of one wall change, right? Yeah. We changed one wall, built a drywall wall and had them have to go through it. And as soon as they went through that wall, they didn't know what room they were in. I mean, it's a training tower they've been in 100,000 times,
right.
And so it doesn't take a whole lot. But I think to your point, like it builds that confidence, which builds confidence and all those things come together. But that's what you want in training, right? You want those confidence, you want those morale wins, you want the guys to feel like they actually achieved something, did something that brought them together, made them better. So I 100% agree. And to Frank's point, when you can do those trainings and you get those opportunities that don't exist everywhere, in calling your mutual aid, calling your automatic aid partners, have them go through the drill with you. Like, hey, you cover my town for an hour while we do the drill. And then while we're doing the drill, we'll go back in service and you come down and you do the drill too. You know, when I was a company officer, I always, we were on a rescue truck and I was a rescue engine type thing. And I always told the guys, like, hey, you want to be as aggressive as possible, which only as strong as your weakest link. So that requires a lot of training. Nobody wants to be on the company that shows up and everybody just looks at you like, they're here. You want to be the company that, like, when you show up, it's like the shit's going to get done, right? These are the people that can actually execute at the highest level. And that's not going to happen by accident, right? It's very purposeful movements and training and those sort of things. So thoughts on any of that stuff?
Brian, one mistake a trap that some company officers and training officers fall in is they get in the vacant and the vacant's vacant. Okay. There's nothing in it. Yep. And they just, every drill they do is when they get a vacant is vacant. No, get with your housing authority, the Salvation Army. When they have bulk
trash.
Trash. When you have bulk pickup. I remember one day I was going to a dinner in the city. I had a suit on, and Cheshire's an affluent community. On the way to the city, I'm driving through and I saw a crib. So I stopped. I'm going through a trash pile in a suit, grabbing a crib, and somebody stopped and goes, wow, times are getting tough. And I said, yeah, Democrats in office. You never know.
Oh my gosh.
We almost went a whole show.
But I grabbed the crib and then put it up in the vacant, but made sure nobody got to see that I put the crib in there because they weren't expecting it. And lo and behold, good companies, some really good companies got humbled because they missed the crib.
Right.
So it's
they weren't used to it. They weren't expecting it.
They weren't expecting it. It's a way to basically where failure is a good thing to say, hey, if you miss the crib here, what are you going to miss at a fire?
Right.
Same thing.
And how many times have we done trainings? We did this with our search training. We put a crib in there with a baby, a little mannequin, right? And how many times we've seen this in trainings where crews go through and they just start flailing stuff, right? Stuff gets thrown because they don't care. One, we know that's a poor tactic. But if you throw a crib, where's the baby going? Where's that 10 pounds across the wall? Right. So we did that, and we told the crews on the inside, we're like, you guys do it how you do it.
You put Jim in the crib?
What's that?
You put Jim in the crib?
He'd fit.
He would fit.
But they did it. So then, it was kind of like a, walk, crawl, walk, run type training we set up. And so we said, hey, if you tilt the crib, the baby's going to roll down, right? It's going to slide down to the corner of the crib, and you're going to be able to feel on that corner and grab the baby if there's a baby in the crib, right? And then you just respectfully set the crib back up if there's no baby in it. You don't need to throw the crib across the room. You don't need to throw chairs, beds, dressers.
You don't need to vent the window with the crib.
What's that?
So you don't need to vent the window with the crib.
Yeah, right? I mean, like crazy stuff we've all seen.
Frank, I know the truck and you said, well, you could. I mean, in training, we want to train them not to do that.
If you're searching a room, you shut the door to the room. The only time you should really have to tilt the crib is if there's no door or the door can't be shut.
Get in there with the I and the VIS.
Even that conventional search, you go in, you shut the door. Now, when you vent the window, conditions are going to clear. It's going to facilitate a quicker, cleaner search. Your visibility is going to be a little higher. And now it's easy to stand up real quick and search that crib. So, and then you can go back, and when you open that door, make an evaluation. Is the line in place? Well, now I can chalk it open to aid in ventilation. If the line's not in place, I can leapfrog and shut that door. So it also kind of drives home that thing of, hey, we need to be shutting the door on the conventional search. If you're shutting the door on VES and you're not shutting the door in a bedroom on conventional search, the fire doesn't know whether you broke the window from the outside or inside, so we got to get into that habit of shutting the door. And you can see that with that theater smoke of, do they have that good search discipline, that truck discipline of closing doors when they go by them?
No, that's a good tactical tip.
Absolutely. All right, fellas, let's talk about your book. So, obviously we've been talking about setting the standard and standard through training. So we got about 15 minutes left. We'll end with some FDIC stuff before we get closing out. But I just want to know, you got Polikoff and Ricci, McGlynn, it was your brainchild to kind of develop this book. What was your inspiration?
I appreciate that. So obviously, I mean, you two know me. My passion is training. It's my thing. It's the thing I love the most in the time that I've been in the fire service. I did the first book that I had done, the training officer, and it was a good time. It was a good product. And you know, in aligning myself with the brand, what better way to broaden the things that I've learned than doing one for fire engineering. So, you know, presented it to the fire engineering folks. They liked the idea. And I was committed that I couldn't do this by myself. So like, you know, Frank jokes a lot, but I very much agree wholeheartedly with, you know, you can't do everything by yourself. Right. And for all the years that I've been doing this, I've been fortunate that I've been surrounded by people. So I felt like, all right, well, I'm going to tap Frank and then we were going to tap PJ. And then we ended up getting, luckily, David Polikoff on board because, you know, he brings a different perspective that really complements the book. And there's three of us that give all of our suggestions, nuggets, tips, tricks, tactics, and our story from our peace of mind and our experience. Frank is like my big brother. I mean, like he's one of the people I trust the most in the teaching circuit. And you see him and I will step on each other regularly, not always in agreement. And that's what complements the book, because it's not one single-minded perspective, but it's three people from three parts of the country who are just sharing their passion for training our fire service, right? And it's not your regular training book. It's not a fire instructor one book. It's not trying to teach you the methodologies of instruction. Some of that's in there, but we're telling you some of the things that we learned throughout our tenure doing training with people is, you know, the humanistic side, the empathy side, the sympathy side, the dealing with mental health, the how to set up drills, the who to reach out to or where to go, to knowing your limits, to networking with people, to dressing for your audience and not just looking like a soup sandwich because you think it's cool, to understanding the roles and responsibilities of, right. No, you look great. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some people, and I'll tell you right now. I mean, it's in the book, so I don't give a shit. There's nothing to hide. Hot instructors are one thing, and it's great when you're teaching a lecture. I'm not interested in you showing up looking like James Dean. I want you to know your audience, right? We're not on the training ground. We're in the classroom. And we talk about that. And we talk about the certification levels and the quality versus quantity. You know, and one of the things that we were able to get back from the tech review piece that I felt was the most practical was that we dedicated an entire chapter to the company officer piece, right? And the company officer piece, thank you, is you know, we talk about the company officer is, almost all due respect to you, Brian, because I'm not trying to knock what I had done for so long. They're more important than TO because they're literally in the trenches with these people. We need to teach our company officers how to be company officers. That's part of training, and that's in the book. Like Frank said before about, you know, teaching people how to be actors so that we're preparing them for that next level. That's in the book. And then the roles and responsibility of the company officer to set that standard of their crew. It starts there. You aspire to teach people one day in the future of your organization. Well, if you can't teach 4 or 8 guys as a company man, how are you going to do it for the whole organization, right? So we capture a lot of that. We talk about a lot of that. And then we end the book with the future of fire service training. And we talk about the things that are on the pathway and about how we don't just dismiss the old style stuff, but we embrace the new stuff while we're not dismissing old stuff. And we've been fortunate that you were able to contribute. Silvernail was able to. We have a lot of great contributors, but we end it with Champ because Champ has that back page on the magazine, and he's going to have the back page in the book. And I just think we're very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. I'll speak for myself. I'm surrounded by a lot of great people, and I'm very glad to have this opportunity. I think it seems biased. I'm being humble when I say this. If it was just me that did this, I wouldn't ever talk about the book because I'm my own worst critic. I think it's going to be a really good book because we give a whole new perspective of the ins and outs of the training officer. We're not teaching you how to be an instructor. We're preparing you on how to develop your folks and what that means from being a fireman all the way up to being the training chief.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I want to get a copy of it. The last book I bought, Fire Engineering, there was a book on command. Something about Christmas presents or something. Command presents or something. Yeah, it was horrible. I tried to read it.
It was called Step Up and Lead. Oh wait, that's a different phrase.
That's actually a good book. That's a solid book. That's a great book. No, I think you guys got a home run here. It's going to be awesome. And
thank you. You're not going to buy them. We're going to give you a copy. By the way, everybody. So Brian not only was supposed to contribute, he basically co-authored chapter 5. You're welcome, Frank. So you're getting a copy, at least a copy, because you basically, without you and a lot of the guys,
it's all
we wouldn't be able to bring it together to how we did. And I think that's another compliment of it is that.
No, it's good stuff.
We had a lot of people contribute.
And he mentioned PJ was one of the original 3, but due to other requirements, he was unable to do it. But PJ wrote the foreword for the book to kind of set the stage. And, besides the stuff that Dave talked about, we also cover how to do an accident investigation. And while we talked a lot about that, we want training to be successful, there are times where, if everybody did what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't need fire officers. Okay. So we see too many supervisors seeing themselves as the highest paid firefighter. The training officer isn't the highest paid firefighter. The company officer isn't the highest paid firefighter. So sometimes there are accident investigations and we need to protect due process and discipline. We cover that in this book as well. So it kind of is a holistic approach to training from all different perspectives. So I'm pretty excited about it. It'll be great to see it come out. It probably won't be ready for this FDIC, but the good thing is you'll be able to purchase command presents to kind of set the stage and get you ready for the next one, So
nothing
I think
like some selfless promotion. Nothing like some selfless promotion. Hey, real quick, while we got you guys, what are you teaching at FDIC next year? Let's hit that real fast and we'll wrap it up.
Oh, go ahead, Frank.
I'm teaching tactical leadership on Tuesday afternoon. So I make a promise. If you don't learn anything, I'll entertain you. But please come in. It's a good class, good program. Essentially, when you take this program, you'll realize how much I sucked throughout my career, because every time I made a mistake, I essentially added a slide and said, this is how I can get better. But it's an entertaining program, high energy, and it's a good afternoon.
And there's no cursing in that class, right? Like you won't say any cuss words?
No, I use tactical profanity, no curse words.
Tactical profanity. I like that.
Profanity, I love it. Dave, what do you got going on this year?
Well, real quick, I'll say, so Frank's is a Tuesday afternoon. So Brian, I know you know this, but for the viewer, so those are ones that you have to sign up for, right? So when you sign up for FDIC, if you sign up for the week-long package where you start the classrooms where you come in on Wednesday, take classes until Friday. So the Mondays and Tuesdays, you pick those, right? So I'm going to tell you, not just because he's my friend, Frank, anything he teaches is a great program. I absolutely encourage you to sign up for his class, which would be that Tuesday afternoon. And just pack the room for it, because it's not just entertaining, it's enlightening, and it's a lot of good stuff. I'm teaching probably Wednesday. I haven't gotten confirmation on classroom yet, but that was the only day that I picked. So we'll see.
Nice.
So probably Wednesday, teaching the training officer. Do you have what it takes? So similar to what I've taught in the past with the Do You Have What It Takes, building a train network. It's always training related, but I've changed it a lot because a lot of that class was off my first book and first concept, and the things that I've learned just the past couple of years, and then having done this new project with Frank and Dave, I sprinkled some of that in there. We're going to try to pack it all into the hour 45, but I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a good time. We always have a good time in that. That class is literally in the title. I'm not teaching you how to be a training officer. I'm basically telling you this is all the shit you're going to deal with as a TO. And do you have what it takes? Because if you took this to either segue into another promotion or to get yourself off of the truck because you couldn't hack it anymore, it's not your job.
I like it.
What this is about.
Yeah, I've sat in both these classes. I can attest they're both awesome. So what you got, Frank?
Oh, that means a lot. One thing that I want to point out when you hear like the term tactical leadership, if you're a firefighter, we want you in a leadership class. If you wait until you get promoted to start taking leadership classes, you're already failing. So you want, skills, knowledge, and abilities. And that's why on the book, I put a picture of a firefighter. We're not talking about a chief teaching company officer with a picture of the chief on a cover where people see a disconnect. But we want firefighters in leadership classes. Yeah. So this class is for firefighters, lieutenants, captains, and chiefs on up.
That's awesome. Yeah, as though anybody hadn't seen it enough. There it is.
Right. Again. I was going to say, what do you put it up for? He put it up
one more time, just in case you didn't know what it was. So this year, for me, FDIC, we have a brand new class of ISFSI NFPA 1400 roadmap for today's modern fire instructor. And so it's going to touch on everything that's in 1400. So the 1400, you guys, I know Frank's really abreast of the standards. 1400 relates straight to training standards. And so it's the fixed facilities, it's the live fire, it's the thermal imaging training that's required, it's the RIT training that's required, it's the respiratory training that's required, and it's the 1410 drills that we all do. And so in that class, I've got a really good cadre of ISFSI instructors that are going to be teaching with me. And so we're going to break each one of those sections down. We're going to talk about a line of duty death. So you get the cognitive effect of why the training is important. We're going to go through the standard, and then we're going to leave you with a drill that you can physically take back to your department so that you can meet the standard that you guys are talking about in your organization. So you're not just like leaving, sometimes you take these classes, you're like, man, that's really great, but how do I implement that? We're giving you the tools to implement it. So you can leave there, and that'll be, unfortunately, the same time tactical leadership is on Tuesday. But that'll be Tuesday afternoon at NFPA 1400. And then
go to Brian's class. He's a professional, solid. He's one of the few people in the fire service, like Dave, that when you ask him for something, he delivers on time too. So
I appreciate that. I'm still working on it.
If you got to pick one, take Brian's class, take mine next year.
And then we got the keys to success, keys to company success. The one class I love talking about how to be a better company officer. So we'll be talking about that. But
you're working on a project about specifically that too.
Well, maybe. Yeah, there might be a little something in the works. We'll see if it comes to fruition, right?
There'll be something coming out from Brian. It's a book about that type of stuff.
We'll see. We'll
be on the lookout for it.
Anyway, hey, fellas, it's been great talking to you. Make sure everybody get in on the Monday opening for FDIC. Get your early registration, early housing. Sign up for these classes. Make sure you're up there. And if you're an instructor, you're a firefighter, fire officer, whatever, if you're in the fire service, you need to be at FDIC because that's where it's happening. So thanks, guys. And everybody be safe. Take care. Thank you.
Have a great